Hello, Internet. So I am on record in the past as basically saying that unaged, high proof rum is basically the greatest value going in spirits right now. Partially because it's as far away from bourbon in style as you can really get. There's also Baijiu, but Baijiu has its own problems going right now. But what happens when you start seeing, offerings of unaged rum that, aren't priced at $30 or $40? What happens when they start getting into the 50s, into the 70s? Are they still worth it? Should you still think about buying them? This episode is about two things that have come out recently from the Velier stable, through PM Spirits and through, I guess, BC Merchants in Illinois. This is Barbosa, Amado, and Vicente. Grogue, I think it's pronounced. Grogue, something like that. I suppose. I should, check on that, but I don't have time, y'all. Let's call it Grogue. From Cape Verde, just off the coast of West Africa. We got that. This is about 50 to $60 or something like that. 40 to $60. And we have Rivers Royale Grenadian Rum. This is between 70 and 80. This rolls deep. So we're gonna try them today. I bought these at my local Binny's, and we're gonna try them out and see what's what. All right, so grog first. And I do the grog first because this one is bottled at a mere 45% alcohol by volume. Rivers is a hair bit stronger than that. We'll get to the Rivers in a second. Okay. Grog. Cape Verde has a long history as, an ambiguous history as one of the sort of major staging points for triangle trade, the slave trade. But more recently, they've been making cane juice based rum, and this is a very interesting example. Distillery founded in 1970. So wild fermentation, pot distilled in small 300-liter stills, direct fired, wood fired, and they're using black cane, so estate sourced, and again bottled at 45% ABV. They're not saying what their still strength is, but apparently it is not significantly higher than 45% ABV. This is just how close to how it comes off the still. So that's cool. So we should be in Clarin territory with this. Wild fermentation, pot distillation. But let's see what we got. Let's see what's on the nose. Oh, also this is what is this? Lot M20171000. So presumably bottled 2017. I just don't actually know. Oh, a thing of note with both of these products. 700 milliliters. 700 milliliters. I don't know if you can see that. Probably not. So basically, the U.S. has changed its laws to allow Euro-sized bottles. So these look like full 750s. They are not. They are missing a shot. Do not be mad about that. It will be interesting to see the repercussions and the consequences of this. But basically, you're going to see a lot of Euro-sized stuff start rolling into the U.S. As people just, now they don't have to rebottle it in larger bottles anymore. So they're just going to send their old bottles to the U.S. And that's great. All right, I'm going to shut up and we're going to nose this. Lots going on the nose. We're sort of at a halfway point between agricole rum and, I don't want to say Clarin. This is a little bit too buttoned up, it's actually very well sorted this for something, wild fermented. Halfway between, like agricole and some of the more, rustic Mexican rums. Those are sort of my points of reference on this. Maybe a hint of Savannah too. Lots going on. So we're getting grapefruit right up front. Lots of, grapefruit rind, the zest, a little bit of the fruit, but more rind and zest. Some white flowers. There's something about this that reminds me of like a Viognier from not the northern one. We're talking like, warm weather Viognier. More floral, a little more boozy. And then some more agricole notes. Tar, a lot of seawater on this. A couple of olives, black olives. Some salted licorice, some Euro-style licorice. Something almost like a lambic ale. Some of the like a Flemish, lambic or something like that. But then there's like this note which I think is really distinctive of this this grog, of like almost muddled herbs. So you took some herbs, nothing in particular. You just took a bunch of like mixed herbs, and you could sort of threw them in a glass with some bitters, maybe some peychauds, splash of water, and you just went at them with the muddler. That's kind of what I'm smelling on this. Touch of tomato sauce as well, but very much we're much more on the muddled herbs kind of thing. It's kind of fizzy smelling. It's not actually like fizzy, but it smells like it almost could be. There's like a kind of minerality to this, almost like kind of like tonic water, seltzery nature to this. Fizzy but not. On the palate, sweet and savory both. Surprisingly light on its feet. And light on the finish. The finish is actually quite, this is, obviously no age on this, but I've actually come to expect, unaged rums to kind of coat my mouth from front to back. This is not doing that right now. This is kind of like stopping, right before it hits my molars. It's very much all at the front of my mouth right now. But what's there is lingering on that, kind of sweet and herbal, muddled, peychauds, bitters, and herbs kind of note. Cane juice, straight up cane juice, seawater, mixed olives, like a dustiness, like a just a dry dust, like you went out to the desert in Nevada and just threw some dust in your mouth. Some strawberry syrup, nice strawberry syrup. We're not talking about the IHOP stuff. This is good stuff. Something floral in there that's hard to pick up on, but a little bit of a floral touch. And like, do you know those little Smarties candies? The candies on the string. There's a lot of that going on in here too. There's a lot about this that actually reminds me. So, I mentioned the Mexican rum thing before. This actually reminds me a lot of the cane juice based ur-rum, the ur-rum Charanda Agricola, I think they were calling it. It's not like it's there's a wild aspect to this, but it's keeping it under control. This is definitely it's a wild rum, but it's a wild rum that's throwing on a nice shirt and a jacket on top. That kind of thing. I like this. This is refreshing. It's very drinkable, and I'm fascinated by that sort of herbal bitters kind of finish. So I'm gonna give that like half a squirt of water, because it is 45%. I don't think it'll take a whole lot of water. And we're gonna move on to this monster right here, Rivers. This is a little bit of a legend. From Grenada, Rivers Estate in Grenada, organically produced. It's not like they chose and elected to make this organically. They just didn't have a lot of other options. Basically, this is something that they've been making since the 1780s, and the production methods apparently haven't changed really since the 1780s. They have a working water wheel, direct fire distills, wild fermentation still. given the 1780s nature of this, I'm curious as to whether they start out making this molasses based and then sort of changed it to being, you know, pure cane juice based at some point. I don't know, but they're claiming this is, they've been making this basically the same way since 1785. So this is really this is old school as it gets. Bit of a local legend has been floating around, the world and a little bit more in Europe for a long time now, at higher strength than this. And it's now been brought into the U.S. At a modest strength of 69% alcohol by volume. So as high as you can legally get and still put it on a plane. Powered by water wheel. What else can I say about this? So they're saying it's based on cane juice, but they're actually sort of boiling down and reducing and concentrating the cane juice beforehand, before they ferment it. So it actually seems to me more like a cane syrup based rum. But I'm not going to split hairs on that. I don't think there's much in that. It's old school. This is old school stuff, and it is very, very strong old school stuff. This is not, by any means. I mean, it's backwoods, right? It's going to be a little rustic in style, but we're not talking about a small, one-man backyard operation like tiny, tiny stills, as with Claren or something. This is, these are larger stills, still old school, but larger stills, and it's coming off this, in the 70s as opposed to like in the 50s. So this should be, in theory, a little bit more refined, a little bit more aromatic, and not as sort of grungy as the Clarens are. That's what you would think, and then you put your nose in the glass. And it's absolutely filthy in the best way imaginable. This is a gigantic rum. This is huge, and it smells primordial. It's like nosing the primordial soup, only there's alcohol nip in it. Seawater, more seawater, seawater on seawater, more like olives, more olives. And then pickles, incense, different kinds of incense. Tons of like alcohol. I mean, my nose hairs are burning right now. That's not a problem because they wanted it bottled like this, but there's some rubber, there's some fennel. There's some like sauteed tomatoes in there. Like I know I mentioned a little bit of tomato sauce in the Grogue and the Barbosa. This is like there's a lot more tomato on this. But also rose water. The floral notes are, it's much more rosy and rose watery than it is like just sort of generally floral. This feels like almost an ur-rum, to the extent that you could name it. It feels like the ancestor of both like Claren Vival over here, but also that crazy Velier Worthy Park, the 502, the 151 that I tried. This feels like, it created both of those, or both of those are sort of variants on this. This feels like, a shark. This feels like, just something that's been untouched by evolution for forever, and it's just still, swimming along, eating stuff, whatever stuff. It just likes eating stuff. God, it's good. It's just huge. The nose on this is just bonkers big. On the palate, okay, watch my face. The thing about this is, and what's hard to kind of wrap your brain around it with, is if you've been running around rum for a long time, like I have, well, not a couple of years for me, you kind of know these flavors. You kind of, these are in the vocabulary somewhere. What's new is power behind, I mean, the force of 69%, that much concentration of the alcohol and the flavor is just totally new to me. I mean, all right, let's go through a list. Yeah, again, seawater and olives forever. The rotting tomato thing, floral rotting tomato. Like the rotting tomatoes have some flowers growing out of them. And they're rosy. There's a little, there's a couple of roses coming out of there. Pipe tobacco. Balkan style tobacco. Smoky. Fennel. Lots of fennel. Lots of olives. I already mentioned that, but they're like, it's olives, but then on the side it's like candied olives. It's like, olives you just, fried up in a pan with some butter and some and some sugar, and it's yummy. Muddy, but like mud with, mixed around with white pepper, peppery mud. Kind of fruity, little hints of fruitiness here and there behind the seawater and olives. Some kiwi, some nectarine, Russian caravan tea, kind of like just rocks again. Rocks and like bubblegum, some kind of bubblegum in there. Olive bubblegum. I would try olive bubblegum. I would. I like cucumber soda, so why not? God damn. I mean, the effect here is like, as if you've been drinking cabs and stuff all your life, $20, $30 California cabs. And then someone like plops down a bottle of like Mondavi Reserve or something in front of you, like the upper level stag's leaps. And like you try a glass and your head, blows open, that kind of thing. That's the effect here. It's kind of, this, but man, there's just so much oomph going on here. It's just so much more aggressive and serious. So I'm going to add all the water in the world to this. I've forgotten which glass is the one with the rivers in it. Fuck. Okay. It's been a long day. I've been shooting a lot of these videos. I spilled some whiskey all over myself. No, this is the rivers. Five. The thing is, after you've been sipping something at high alcohol for a while, you actually become a little bit anesthetized. Your sense of taste for things at lower alcohol kind of goes away. The nip, just kind of numbs you and so you can't actually. You start to lose a little bit your ability to distinguish what you're tasting, which is another reason to add water sometimes. Yep, we need half a squirt more on this. Okay, Jesus. Rivers is very, very, very serious. Okay, let's go back to the grog. A little bit, and this is why we do reviews, right? This is, I mean, on paper, you ignore the ABVs at least, these things look very similar. Wild fermentation, pot distilled, cane juice based. But, you set them next to each other, and these are very, very different animals. This is very buttoned up. This is very, civilized. This is not. This is wild, and it's gonna get all up in your junk. All All right, back to the Barbosa, now with a little squirt of water in it. On the nose. Water doesn't bring out a whole lot more. More grapefruit. More smoke coming through now. So you're sort of smoking your grapefruit peel before you nose it. And there's a little bit more like of like a trash can rot sort of. Like you should have taken your kitchen trash out like the day before in the summer and it's getting a little stinky, that kind of thing, but nice. I mean, it's quite focused, this stuff. I like it. It's doesn't have the fireworks of something like this, but it's just sometimes you don't want fireworks, On the palate, the Grogue, the Barbosa, is, man, I mean, it's light. It's refreshing. It's nice. It's just lovely. It's got this sort of, it's still got that sort of bitter floral thing going on. Yeah, the herbal floral bitter thing, which is really interesting to me. Hold on, let me try this one more time. The sweetness rolls out a little bit more. The candy nature of this. Yeah, in a lot of ways, this really reminds me of the, I think I already mentioned this, of the European Agricola, the pure cane juice one. It's lovely, it's complex, it's very drinkable, it's very sessionable, it's very Moorish. And there's something else. Something about that herbaceousness really interests me. Because I had a hunch, like the night I was trying this and I was puzzling over it, and like, why is this, the price it's at? Why is it like $50? And I realized something about it was reminding me of all things, Port Moran. Totally different distillates, right? Port Moran is made in like a one of the oldest wooden stills in the world. This is not. This is traditionally pot distilled. But something about the herbal quality in the herbal finish on this made me think Port Moran. So I thought, okay, on its own, in the glass, this is an 85 plus, right? Good, very good, but not necessarily, crushing any of the clarins and stuff that you can get cheaper. So, what is it for? What is this stuff, why buy this over the clarins and those other options? So I tried something, which I will now repeat for you. Here I have another glass. And here I have a bottle of Diamond Demerara 151 overproof rum. I bought this with the interest of, throwing it in a review somewhere and reviewing it. But frankly, I don't think that would work out very well because there's not much to this, if I'm totally honest. It's not bad. I'm going to pour half an ounce in my third glass here. It's not bad, but let's set this here, right in front of my face. But the notes on this are basically ethanol and like whipped cream. It's not complex. Like, that's all I can say about it, really, is it's boozy whipped cream. However, it just doesn't have a lot of character. However, what happens when I add a 1/4 ounce of Grogue? I really should give these two time to settle, time to marry down a little bit, but I won't. Now I move my Diamond 151. So the Diamond is much, much stronger than the Grogue. You would think it would just like run it right over just through sheer strength. And what happens actually is the Grogue kind of takes over. It kind of like just takes over this blend. It's still very hot. I'm still getting a lot of alcohol nip on this. Still getting a little sort of whipped creamy sweetness. But that herbaceousness, the The very clean agricole style grapefruity notes are coming right through and making this much more interesting immediately. And I didn't even add that much to it. On the palate, definitely needs a couple squirts of water, but delicious. I mean, this is actually a really terrific blend rum at this point. And, I haven't even brought it down to drinkable strength. On the nose, once it's sort of more drinkable, it's more smoke comes through. More of a citric aspect. And it was already sort of grapefruity before. More floral, more rocky. It just smells like a really good... This is, beyond the sum of its parts at this point. Like, this is 2 parts, characterless, boozy booze, plus some grog at much lower strength. And the sum of them is probably like in the low 80s somewhere if I were to sit down and actually review this. That's terrific. That's really, really good. So, if you're looking at the 85 plus score and saying, okay, I can skip this one because, of the price. I mean, okay, there's, maybe, but there's more to this than just throwing it in a glass and, in a Glencairn and sipping it. This, I feel like this is going to become a secret weapon for blenders, for bartenders, for people making cocktails. You want to do a split base, throw this into it and see what happens. 85 plus, but with the caveat that, its ultimate purpose is not, necessarily realized when it's just, in a Glencairn glass with a splash of water on it. Moving it back to the rivers, though. That blend is actually pretty solid. Back to the rivers with a splash of water. Actually reacts in similar fashion, just a little bit more so. We're getting a little bit more development. Sweeter, more smoky. More of a sort of banana touch to it now. Yeah, lots of fruit, more fruit in general. Guava, kiwi, and the banana thing. Banana puree. Yeah, much sweeter, much more smoky, fruity. Something about this is reminding me of Kalila now, of all things. Don't ask me to justify that. But still very, very savory. There's and there's a little, lots of olives, lots of seawater. Those are still the dominant notes. There's some like aftershave in there kind of going on. Some like, Old Spice, Home Alone, that kind of thing. And like a little like a zip of lime peel, like you kind of twisted your lime peel, got a little oils in there, and you threw it in. But it just smells old school. It still smells, primordial, like the ur-rum, to the extent there is such a thing. On the palate. Power, the power of this stuff. Even reduced. I mean, the alcohol nip is gone, but this is just filling up my mouth with flavor and aggression and power. I can't think of a better word than power. But once one gets used to that, it's like, incredibly balanced, harmonious. Candied seawater. Smoky candied seawater, flowers, olives, more smoke, some tobacco, some tea on the side, fennel. Oh God, this is good. This is a 90 pointer for me. This is not, and it's not hard to make that call. This is a 90-point rum. And for the price, yeah, I mean, it's worth it. This is totally worth it. And I might be underrating it because I'm a little scared of this. I'm a little scared of this stuff. I'm sticking with 90, but it's like a 90 leaning up. And yeah, I'm going to leave it at that. So actually, you know, I think both of these are well worth buying for different reasons. Like this Rivers, this monster right here is, you know, this is what you buy when Lefroy cast strength is kind of getting boring. You know, it's like that. That's how this rolls. The Grogue is a more interesting beast. This is something, you know, this is a finesse weapon. This is something for the blenders, for the mixologists out there. This is what you have, you know, in your pocket when you're trying to work something out, when you're, you know, and, you know, nothing is working. You just want something to throw in there to pull it together. This is where you go to, this Grogue right here. 85 plus for the Grogue and 90 out of 100 for the Rivers. That concludes this review. Thanks for watching, and cheers.